Today, we're going to talk about transition. That was the title of the talk. Transition is the new normal, which it is. And I want to start today with a little exercise. Okay, most people have a notepad or something or a piece of paper they can work with. Or you can even do this on your phone or your computer. I'm going to ask you to do something a little odd. I want you to take your writing device, put it in your non-dominant hand. Okay, if you're right-handed, choose your left. If you're left-handed, choose your right. And what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you write down my URL with your non-dominant hand, okay? And I'm going to do it with you to show you. Feels freaky, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Feels really, really odd. In some cases, it feels almost impossible to do. Now, this is an old trick from my artistic side of my life. This is an old artist trick. If you're kind of stuck in your art, you would switch your paintbrush or your pencil, whatever, to your non-dominant hand and do that. And it causes a change in your mind. Well, the change that I relate this to is transition. This little test is a little example of what transition does to your mind. It messes with it. It can make you feel confused. It can make you feel uncomfortable. It can make you feel out of balance and a bit clumsy. I know up there my M sort of fell apart at the end of that there. And if you let it, it can even make you feel a little bit stupid. Okay? How many of us have been there? Okay. Now imagine living the rest of your life with that change. You know, some of us have broken our arms, some of us have had to switch hands, some of us have carpal tunnel. You've had to learn how to do something else. It can feel very, very difficult. But what is it about the human psyche that is so amazing? We adjust. We learn to adapt. We actually would eventually get used to it. It would become normal to us, as in transition as the new normal. We would learn to deal with it. And even more importantly, you'd probably be better off having gone through the process, because it triggers a different part of your mind, a different part of your body. It may not feel good when you're going through the process, but it does offer us some benefits, even though we may have a difficult time seeing it when it's taking place. Now, I hope this little experience, gives you a little understanding of how normal transition is. We go through transition every single day in large ways, large and small, even something as silly as this little exercise. It can cause a lot of upwelling feelings. It can make us a little fearful, but it isn't an odd experience. Okay, it should never be seen as an odd experience. It should be seen as something that's normal. Something that happens to us every day. Oh gosh, the road's closed, I've got to find a different way to work, or a different way to my coffee place, or whatever. Transition simply is. It's part of our life, and it should be seen as that. Now, we're all in transition in some ways, big, small. I'm trying to think over the years how many transitions I've gone through, just job-related, 6, 8, 10, 12, career-related, 1 or 2. I had a son who's now turning 18, so lots of transitions in my life over that time. I've actually spent the last 3 years myself in transition, so I describe it to people. Oh, what are you doing now? I'm in transition, because I'm trying to reassemble everything that I did in my life, and I have a wide range of interest in my life, and if you visit the website, you'll actually see that it's kind of all over the place. It's technology, it's art, it's gardening, it's careers, it's all over. And so I've been trying to reassemble that into what most people would call a career. And the fact is, I realized a long time ago, my career will never resemble anybody else's career. And neither will yours. Because careers are very, very personal. They come out of our own personal interest. It also required me to turn my thinking around about transition. I never in the past would have applied that little example as transition, but it came to me literally last night while I was sitting going over my notes. I said, I want to exercise so I can kind of give people an example of transition and how it makes you feel. And it's like, oh, well, bingo, there we go, perfect. We used to think that transition, especially career transition, is something that you wake up, okay, I got to deal with this. It's just this period, and then I'm out of transition. Well, the fact is, no, that's not the way it works. And I know you know that's not the way it works. It's a constant continuum of change throughout our life. And the sooner we adapt to that and absorb that fact, the better off we're all going to be. Life is simply one long transition between, I'm a different person now at 52 than I was at 22 for a variety of reasons, okay? We all are. Every day, something changes about us, and we need to learn to see that as the opposite of stability. Sometimes we look for stability. We're looking for that post to hang on to that says, okay, I'm out of transition. I'm stable now. Well, and again, you already know this. It doesn't exist because something else comes along immediately after and causes another type of transition, another change in your life that you've got to deal with. And stability in some ways can be a little bit of a trap sometimes. Having been in positions for a variety of years, from a year and a half to 9 months to 5 to 6 to 7 years, or in things that I do like my podcast and my writing, 20 years, well, actually 15 years now, I guess, of that, and my overall career of 30 plus years, we get lured into that stability trap. Now, when you realize that transition is constant and ongoing, what's one of the first responses you have to that? Fear. Oh my God, I can't deal with this, it's too much. I can't be in transition forever, I will go crazy. I often hear from people, it's like, you will be in transition forever, but I can guarantee you, you will not go crazy. You'll adapt. Humans are very flexible beasts. Okay, we adapt to climates and politics and countries, and we adapt to all this stuff in our life. We can adapt to seeing transition as something normal in our lives. The important fact I want to tell you is, while transition is normal, that struggle that you feel with it at times will ease. As you become more adept at dealing with transition, you'll simply get better at it. Part of it is that acceptance. To me, that acceptance part of transition is one of the first things you've got to get over. This is just something that happens and I've got to deal with this. But then you'll actually get used to it and you'll learn how to use it to your advantage. It also means transition can make us feel like we're out of control, like something else is controlling. Our company laid us off, therefore they control my life. Well, no. They control that one small aspect of your life, okay? And even then, how much control does that give us? I know that all of us have been in a position where...
That's where the money comes from.
Yeah, right. What I'm saying, though, is you have the ability, and this is something I have to reinforce with people I consult with on a long-term basis, is if you got this job, you can get another. Too many of us get tied up in the fact that that's the only job I'll ever have and the only job I can ever get. I'm not qualified for anything else. I can't do anything else, and we get panicked about that. No, the very proof of your job history shows that you have an ongoing employability down the road. Okay, and that helps. Sometimes you're looking for that thing to hold on to. We get self-doubt creeps in and that fear creeps in and everything else. And I want to tell you, if you got that job, you can get another. You have skills. Don't let it beat you down. Don't let it convince you that you have no skills or you're not employable or whatever. It's simply wrong-headed, and it's one of those things that our brains do to ourselves. When that doubt creeps in, which is another thing that's totally tied up with transition, that doubt creeps in, and boy, I'm right there with you. I am one of the worst. I have a pessimistic leaning personality rather than an optimistic leaning, so it's very easy for me to go down that hill. But I've learned over the years to tell myself and to stop and say, you know what? No, look at everything you've done in the past. There is something new coming. You You're going to have to find it. You're going to have to work hard to find it. It's not also that things are simply presented to you. Whether you're working in a job or whether you're unemployed or whether you're seeking a job, you still have to work hard at it. And I think that's true of life in general. When you're raising a child, every day you've got to work hard at it. It never really gets easier. And I think that's a good corollary to life in general. There's always new challenges. And you'll have a good day and you'll have a bad day, but it's always a challenge. And you have to work very hard at it. Same thing goes for your career. Same thing goes for your whole life. You do have to work at it. It's not something where you're going to be able to sit back, put your feet up, and just have things on cruise control and life's going to go on, which, frankly, I don't think is a great thing to have anyway. Because we get much too comfortable in that situation, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, about how that comfort can actually be a detriment to you. You wouldn't think it. We like to think, ooh, stability is nice, but it can be a detriment to you. Another important fact is you have to engage with transition. Too many people put up their hands and go, oh my God, I can't. And they crawl in their little hole and they pull in the dirt after them. I don't want to deal with it. Life is too much. Life is too crazy. Life changes too much. But if you ignore transition, or try to ignore it, because you can't really ignore it. If you try to ignore it, you suddenly take all your power over your life, your career, whatever, and go, somebody else, you take care of it. You give up all that power. You give all that power to the person interviewing you. You give all that power to the EDD. You give all that power to somebody else. And eventually you will find out that that doesn't work. Because no one else can care as much about your career or your life as you do. It is simply impossible. We can all be altruistic, we can all help others, we can give to charity, we can do these things. But when it comes down to it, only we can care about our lives as much as anybody else. Everyone else is too much worried about their own life and their own career. And again, they can help you, but they will never care as much about it. So when you give power to them, well, you're reducing the effect you're going to have in the world because you've given the power to someone who really isn't as committed as you are. What's that joke about breakfast? In breakfast, the egg is interested and the pig is committed. Okay, the bacon is committed, right? So you have to realize that, and again, take control of your own life. If you don't manage your own life and career, there are plenty of people who will gladly do it for you. Your spouse will do it for you. Your family will do it for you. Your children will do it for you. Your boss will do it for you. Whatever, your career consultant will do it for you. People love to control other people's lives, just like they like spending other people's money, which I enjoy quite a bit. Engage in your transitions and choose how you transition. You don't just jump willy-nilly from job to job, from career to career, from interest to interest. You make carefully considered decisions. There is a point where people begin to think, I have to do this, I have to do that, but I want to do this. And I often tell them, if you want to do this, there are a million reasons not to do that. You need to find the one reason to do it. Because that's your reason. That's your personal reason to do something. And you've got to go out and search for that. Sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. But you have to take control over those decisions and those thoughts. Don't let other people simply say, oh, here's a job, take it. Here's a life, take it. Okay, you're moving to Wisconsin, take it. You have to really think hard for yourself and saying, is this where I want to go? Is this a truly good path for me to follow? And if you do that, though, you'll be much happier with the decisions you make. You may be a little stressed out. I totally understand that, because thinking hard about stuff like this can make you a little bit fearful, a little bit stressed, a little bit afraid. But at the end of the process, as you go through the process, you'll find that you're very much more confident in the decisions you have made simply because you've thought them through more carefully. You haven't just let them be, the French say, a fait accompli. Here it is, do that. You've at least thought about the process involved in doing that transition. In engaging in transition, one of the most important aspects is you have to engage in yourself. Okay? Again, in the fear, we can sometimes retreat from ourselves and bury ourselves in coffee or alcohol or chocolate or whatever our particular vice is. The fact is, the more you know about yourself, the more you will know about your life and your career. Too many of us simply look out on the established careers, the established professions, the established companies, the established jobs, and say, I must follow that path. There's only one path through the maze, and I have to follow that path. Well, as I know personally myself, I don't fit. For a variety of reasons, I do not fit into that normal career path, and it took me a long time to figure that out. I worked in the corporate world for quite a long time, about 20 years before I figured that out. And it's square peg, round hole. You just don't fit. It's only through the help of some of my friends that I made during that time, started thinking about what I wanted, my wants, needs, and desires. Even if I couldn't have them all right then, at least I could start thinking about them. And once I started thinking more about myself, I quickly realized, oh, there's a little dirt path that goes off here to the right. Here's the freeway of the career, and there's these little dirt paths or little, little stone roads that go off to the left and the right. There's much more flexibility than you might ever think in the work world. But if you don't know that you might want to go down that path, you'll never explore it. You'll never even see it in most cases. You'll simply focus on the freeway, the highway going up the main part of the road. It is hard, but you have to do this for yourself. Another thing we sometimes do in transition is we start to turn all of our attention externally. We start to worry about that resume and that CV and our interview skills. And the fact is, yes, those are important. You cannot deny that. You have to interface with other people to get a job, right? I believe that there are plenty of people out there, plenty of people in this room who can help you with that stuff. Okay, that's not what I focus on, and I never have in my columns or anything else. I always focus on the personal, the person having the job. You are thinking. Read my columns, and you'll see the word "you," probably you or me, more often than any other word in those columns. And that's just something I happened upon when I first started writing about careers. Is I realized that's where I found it important. That's what I found important about careers, is helping people, because there's so much focus on that external stuff, to give them some tools to bring it internally. How many people here want to go in to the same work, the same career that they had before? Okay. How many people want to go into something different? Yeah, so it's half and half. It's probably almost perfectly divided. That's a great example of my next thought, which is, when in transition, we often don't know what the heck we want to do, okay? And I often see people trapped in the situation of the work they've been doing for 15, 20, 25 years never really was their favorite thing to do. It was presented to them at some point early on in their life, in their work career, and they simply kept doing it, but never really thought about, do I actually enjoy doing this? And there's a reason for that. The old adage, it's work, it shouldn't be fun, I don't believe in it all, because, and here's a simple reason about that. You can do, if you're someone kind of meh about your work, if you're someone interested in work, you can do good work. You might occasionally even do great work, occasionally, every couple years. To me, you can never do your best work if you don't have some other intrinsic interest in what you're doing, in some reward that you get from the work you do. When you have that type of love for your work, and I'll point to typical places where this arises is in teaching, and other areas like that where you're dealing with children especially, if you develop that love, you will work harder, you will produce better, you will do great work because you have that little spark, that little extra spark. So one of the things I've tried to do over the years is help people find that spark. And it started with me. It started with me sitting down after a layoff particularly, going, what the heck do I really like to do and not do and all this stuff. And then I had a friend come to me. And he was in the midst of a transition. And he was struggling. And it just struck me and said, here's what you want to do. Write down everything you do right now. Then write down everything you would want to do, that you enjoy doing. And let's work our way through it. This eventually developed into what I call the career compass. Okay? And this tool has helped me, and I think it'll help you, and it might give you a way to help those around you. Because we often have a difficult time thinking about our own careers and about our own skills and our own benefits that we bring to the world. And it was mentioned in the opening about, you have to learn how to tell people what you bring to a job. We're often the worst people to figure that out about ourselves because we don't think what we do has value. It's a perverse thing of human nature. It's very hard for us to express what we think has value about ourselves. It's one of those areas where it really helps to have someone else around you tell you that and or help you bring it out yourself. So the career compass, okay, think about a standard compass, right? We'll divide it in 4. We'll put north at the top up here. South. Oh, come on, Doug. South. I'm not writing with my non-dominant hand. Now it should be better, right? There we go. So I started with the compass. I said, okay, so like a ship, say you wanted to go somewhere and you want to go somewhere north, right? So if anyone has ever flown or been on or piloted a boat, you know that your course may be here, but you're never on course with a boat or an airplane because you're always being pushed around by the currents, the waves, the winds, whatever. And so your path looks more like this. Okay? You're always constantly correcting. So what I want you to do is I want you to find your true north. I want you to find that north that you're headed towards. You may not be able to go directly there, but over time, you'll adjust your course over time and keep heading in that way. So let's say our preference is to head north. That's where we want to go in our life. In these 4 quadrants, I want you to start notating things. Up here, these are things you're doing today that you like doing. So doing positive, okay? That's why I said. So it's things you're doing now that you like, things about your career. And this isn't about, don't think macro. Don't think I like being a policeman. Think about, I like dealing with the public, I like dealing with kids. Break down your preferences into those things about your current work and current life that you really like doing, okay? And you start to mark those in your compass up here, okay? So I like technology, I like gardening, and I'm doing a bit of both. I do some YouTube videos on gardening and stuff like that. You can use the distance from the center as kind of a scale. Something out at the edge maybe you like more than something in the middle, so you can actually even get very fine with your gradations there. So start putting dots on the map of all the things that you like doing that you're doing today. Okay? Down here, this is your time to get your grumbles out. These are all the things you're doing today that you hate doing. I hate bureaucracy. I hate dealing with the government. I hate, whatever. I don't like working with kids that much. That may be something for you. For me, I kind of get a kick out of it. But, maybe you don't like working with kids that much, or maybe you don't like working with older adults that much, or whatever your preferences might be. What are you doing today that you don't really like? This is your chance to get them out and put them down here. Okay? The reason for that is if we're trying to set our course, like I showed over here, where should you be heading in this equation? North, right? You want to go north. You want to not go south. What do I see people doing, I want to say almost universally in their careers these days? They're picking things down here and actively pursuing things down here that they don't want to do. They don't like doing. We've all met the burnt out teacher, the burnout bureaucrat. They hate their job and they make your life miserable because of that. Don't be one of those people. Okay? I will say you don't have to be. Okay? It may take some time, but you can move in this direction. But don't actively go out and seek out things down here. It's self-defeating. Again, another perversity of human nature. We often do things against our own best interest. And that's one of them. Doing things that you don't want to do. On the left side of the equation, if this is the present, this is our future on this side, okay? And we'll say this is not doing now, positive, and not doing now, negative. This is really important because this is your dream. This is where you're headed. This is where you want to go. I want to live on a South Sea island. I want to live on a South Sea island, and I want to run a tourist kayaking company on a South Sea island somewhere, and that's how I make my living. I live on the beach, I rent out kayaks, I take people on trips. Okay, maybe that's what you want to do. Put it on the list, you know? Put it up here. Put other things. I want to work with children more. I want to work in politics more. Whatever floats your boat. Get it down on the list. Get it on. I heard that. Get it on your list. Because again, that helps you move in this direction. Helps you move towards the north. Helps you stay on course. And while these are certainly important to you, this one's the danger zone. That's the one. Can I draw a skull and crossbones here? Maybe. This is the quadrant you need to watch out for. But very important to think about. These are things you don't like doing that you never want to do. Okay. My lovely wife is here recording my talk today. And she told me back when she was student teaching, we met in college. She came home from her first student teaching experience in an elementary school and was like, oh my God, I can't work. No. Oh, I want to mother all these children. I can't be an authority figure. I can't be a disciplinarian. I feel so sorry for them. I can't work with young kids. And she didn't. She knew, no. I need to work with high schoolers. And that's what she did. She ended up working with high school kids over here. She discovered that. Well, if we don't think about that, if we don't have an experience that shows that to us, how do we know? That's why, again, I say you have to do some very hard thinking yourself. And we don't always get that sign from above or below that says, you should be doing this. We have to think about it ourselves. And my favorite thing to do is to take my notepad, go out in the garden, beverage of your choice, I'll make no judgments there at all, and think for a little while, away from the noise of family and work and life in general, and just start associating and thinking about these things. That's why the form of the compass is just a way to help us think and to bring up ideas and to give us something to think about and give us a way to take kind of these free-floating thoughts and get them into something concrete that we can use. Now, what I like best about the compass is not only is it good to decide about your current work that you might be doing, every opportunity that comes down the road now, once you've done this once, can be evaluated against a compass. What are the major aspects of this job? X, Y, and Z. Where do X, Y, and Z fit on the compass? Well, that's going to tell you right away if that job is a good fit for you. This isn't about money. It isn't about the company. It's not about that. To me, the first thing you have to figure out is this a fit for me? Can I do great work in this job? Where does X, Y, and Z fit on the compass? Well, if they're down here, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. You're going to have to do some much more deep thinking about saying, wow, that's a big part of my job is standing behind a counter and dealing with irate public day in and day out, or being on the helpline day in. I learned very quickly. I love helping people with computers. To sit on a helpline and help people on computers, no, drives me mad because you can't. You're crippled. You can't see the information you need to see when you're dealing with someone that way. But that's the thing to think about: is there major aspects of this job that simply do not fit you? You're going to do this thinking for yourself. You're also going to do it for the companies looking to hire you. Sometimes companies will hire someone because they just need to hire somebody. Regardless necessarily how good of a fit that person is, you're both going to be served very, very poorly by that situation. It will result in friction. It will result in conflict. It will result in just a general bad experience for everyone involved. You, your coworkers, your management, the company, everybody. I always seek to avoid that. And again, this is one way of doing it. It's nothing fancy. It's just a way. It's like this little trick. It's just a way to get you to think differently or to get you to think at all. I mean, I know myself. I get tied up in stress and other stuff, and I just start acting. I start reacting to everything. And there are times you need to stop reacting and start thinking. It can be difficult because oftentimes people are asking you to react. Give me an answer now. Well, I'm not prepared to give you an answer now. And sometimes you just need to go. When that would happen when I was working in a larger company, and that would happen, you'd be stressed with someone who was trying to pressure you into a decision on something that you weren't quite clear on. I would literally disappear. I would go for a walk. I would step out and have a coffee. I would remove myself from the stressor so I had that time to think. And people may not always appreciate that, but I can guarantee you the decisions you make will always be better. We make our worst decisions when we are under stress. We make so many decisions at the exact point that we should not be making any decisions at all. Okay? We make a decision on taking that new job a week or so after we've been laid off. You know, you got to watch that, because that is not really a great time to be making such a major decision in your life. And if you are making that decision, make sure you step away and think about it first. Okay? We all hear about rebounds in relationships. Well, work is a relationship too, and you don't want to be on the rebound in your work relationships either. It will have exactly the same results. Things will fall apart. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about how stability can be a bit of a trap. Stability itself is not really the goal, and probably never has been. Because if you know anyone who is totally stable, they're probably in most cases bored out of their mind. They may tell you that, they may not tell you that, but they get up, they go to work, they do the job, go to lunch, do the afternoon, come home, watch TV, have dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Cycle and repeat. And you'll often hear from them verbally, oh God, I'm so bored. I'm just so bored. Because they have stability. Yay! Great thing to have. Wonderful. And you hate your life. And it's conflicting ideas. We're taught stability is good. Stability is normal. Stability is solid. But it can also lead to a life that's just not really interesting, and a life where you're not achieving everything that you could achieve. For most of us in this room, we are lucky, even in our situations as they currently stand, that most of our basic life needs are being met. We can feed ourselves, we have a roof over our head. It may be a struggle, maybe troublesome right now, but we at least have those basic needs met. And it's that stability that allows us to think about these other ways and other wants, needs, and desires in our lives. It also allows you to look out there and see transition not as a threat, but as an opportunity. This is an opportunity, and it sounds like a cliche, I know. This layoff is an opportunity for you to do that. It doesn't feel like it at the time. It feels so bad and so scary and so frightening. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to readjust your course, to perhaps see where you've been on a path that is not the path for you, which is perhaps why, layoffs are horrible because it usually has, in most cases, I would say 99% of the cases, has nothing to do with you. I was that case. I worked for Walt Disney Imagineering for 5 years. Binge and purge mentality to a company. You staff up for a big project, you lay off. You staff up for a big project, you lay off. I was hired at the beginning of Euro Disneyland. Almost got laid off the last 3 years I was there each year. It has nothing to do with the staff. I saw amazing artists. I worked with the guy who designed the Starship Enterprise for the next generation, and came into the company after that. This wasn't about quality in people. It wasn't about talent. It was just they didn't have work for you. Okay? Well, a lot of us have been in that position. That project didn't come through. That sale didn't get made. Well, guess what? We don't have the work for the people we've staffed up to do. Take that to heart and see this truly as an opportunity for you to move beyond a company that is perhaps struggling or needs to evaluate its own priorities and evaluate your own. See this as an opportunity to get a little kick in the butt sometimes, which we all need on many occasions, and move forward. The other trap about stability is because we are not forced to change, it can actually make us not want to change, which is one sticking point, and it also can teach us that we no longer know how to change.
I reject that principle. Flat out.
Okay.
And here's my reason.
Please.
Let's say you're a person that's reluctant to change.
Mm-hmm.
You wear the same clothes every day?
Every day? Some people do. There are people that do, yes.
Okay, well, I mean, most people, have some variety in their wardrobe. You go home with the same wife every day?
I'll go so far. I'm going to mess with you. I'll go so far to say no, because no one's ever the same every day to day.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we have. The point is we have levels.
Sure.
To our change.
Sure.
And oftentimes, yes, we can have. And that's actually, again, a very odd thing about human nature is we'll change our clothes every day. Mm-hmm. We'll have elements of our life that are flexible about, but then we'll have whole sections of our lives that we're not. And that, this is actually a great example, because what I would then say is recognize those points where we are adaptable to change and apply them to the rest of our lives. Because except for, well, I don't know, 30 years, dear? I don't know. She forgot to have a second husband. But that's actually a great example, because it proves to us that we have the ability to change. That we do like variety. I'm a variety freak. I love variety. I hate having the same meals every week and all that. I want a variety of things. But there are some people who prefer a more stable environment. That's fine. For your own benefit sometimes, we need to inject a little bit of change into ourselves and use those opportunities, those ideas as a way of saying, well, I can do that. Why can I, maybe sometimes, it's very funny too, because sometimes it's the smallest things that can break through your thinking sometimes. I'm wearing my red power speaking socks that I always wear when I go out to speak. And sometimes just changing the color of your socks. Sometimes just changing how you brush your hair. It's not these gut-wrenching, life-altering, divorce-related, move to a South Sea Island changes in our life that we should feel that we're trying to accomplish. We're simply trying to tickle things a little bit, to just tickle our lives and our careers a little bit, and inject a little bit of transition, a little bit of change, and to see the benefits that can come from it. Taking that different drive to work. That's another creativity exercise. They'll tell people sometimes, your thinking's kind of stuck, go to work a different way that you've never gone before. Turn off Waze and pick which way you want to go and just randomly go somewhere that way. Sometimes if I'm not in a time crunch, I'm coming back from a client or something like that, I'll just drive down streets that I've never driven down before. There's streets in the San Fernando Valley. I've lived there 30 years. I've never driven down before. And sometimes it's just like, let's take a right here. It keeps your thinking fresh. It keeps that transition muscle, that flexibility muscle toned. We know if we don't use a physical muscle, it atrophies. And it makes it all the more harder to use it on the road. Same thing to me happens with transition and change. The less we change, the less we engage with change, the less comfortable we are with it. And that can mean a very, very scary event. Because if your muscles are atrophied, if your change muscle is atrophied, and you are suddenly required to change, because that pink slip arrives, I have seen way too many people simply collapse.
It doesn't even have to be that. I mean, most companies these days have some sort of a continuous improvement effort going on.
Yeah.
Which means that the stable state won't be,
If
whether they're there or not.
there's a great phrase. If you are staying at the same place, you're actually falling behind in today's world. That's just a simple fact of today's world. Technology. I work in technology, okay? If I'm not learning, if I'm not reading my blogs every day, I'm falling behind because technology is exploding in front of me, okay? And that really applies to life in general. So that's a very important aspect of that. And again, that's another way of approaching this, is being engaged. Having this idea that I'm not stuck here. This isn't a stable state from here. I'm always learning. Both my wife and I are educators. She educates in a classroom. I educate in this method in my writing. But everything I do, that's what also the Career Compass helped me find. Everything I do is related to education in some way. And I really believe that we all should be learning something new every single day. Frankly, I have never driven this part of Olson Road before in my entire 30 years of being in California. I learned something new today. I learned where this place is. I actually had never even driven by the entrance to the Ronald Reagan Museum and knew it was there, but have never even come that far. Those little things, I learned something. I burnt a little groove, one more little groove in my brain. I learned something new. And we should all be seeking that out every day, because it's that keeps us, I'm going to say a really great, huge philosophical statement here. It's our learning that keeps us alive. It's our learning that makes us better people. It's our learning that allows us to do more and better work and do more good in the world. I mean, we talk about big concepts and big ideas and big charities and big things, but it all starts here. You've got to be doing those little things for yourself, those little changes for yourself, those little learning for yourself that bring some joy to your life, bring some further skills to your life, and just keep us feeling alive. It's a sad fact, when most people retire, at least in the traditional sense, they're in danger. If you have worked at a regular job for 30-some years and you retire at age 65, you better have a hobby. Because so many people reach that point and just fall into this concept that it's done, it's over. I never plan on retiring in any traditional form in my life. As long as I can walk and talk, I'm going to be out there doing stuff, because that's just me. I just enjoy doing that. But that is an extreme example. Retirement is an extreme example. But, as you say, we've seen it. And that, to me, is a big red flag out there for most people. Even people my age. I say my age. I got the AARP notice in the mail the other day. But it's something that we know exists and something that should be fought against. Something that should be seen as a red flag, and not one that we have to deal with. We can be learning something new every day. It's big, small, doesn't matter. Read a book. We're avid readers. I read so much on the internet every single day. I enjoy it. It makes my life fuller than simply concentrating on what I have done or what I'm doing right now. Another thing, back to what you were saying too, those stable parts of our life are important to us, because it's that stability that allows us the freedom to be a bit more adventurous. Having X number of dollars in the bank, you're not going to go crazy, but you have the freedom to read that new book or do this or visit this museum or whatever. It provides you a base platform to stand on and say, okay, at this point in my life, I'm stable. I understand that. Things are a little crazy up here, but I have this place to stand, and now I can start to reach out without fear and say, what else is out there? What else can I investigate? Because the trouble is, if you don't have that base level of stability, and some don't, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You have to be fed, you have to be clothed, you have to be housed. Before anything else, nothing else matters until those things are met. So if that's where you are, yeah, you've got to focus down here. But once you get that base level focused, I highly encourage you to start reaching up into that pyramid and finding things that really appeal to you and excite you and energize you. We often talk about the teacher's high. We knew we liked education and teaching when we would come out of a class or a presentation energized, not tired. We're not wiped out when we're done teaching. It's hard for us to wind down sometimes. We enjoy it. We love it. We love talking to people. We love helping people. And that's a clear sign that, okay, that's something you should be doing. If you came out of a classroom every day beat, that's maybe not a sign. It's sucking energy out of you. It's not building you back up. So again, some observation you can make just from your daily life. To finish up today, kind of reiterate some of the things we talked about. Transition is normal. Down to using your opposite hand to write with. It's normal. And the feelings it generates are normal, okay? That uncomfortableness, that fear, that clumsiness, that, the fact is sometimes you feel kind of stupid. I can't write, with this hand. But it is normal. It's with us in everything we do. It's with us when we get lost. We'd miss the turn on the freeway and have to go up an exit. Okay, it's just there. You deal, right? We need to engage in transition at every opportunity that we see it. We need to stop, if you're doing this, avoiding it and pushing it away. We need to reach out, shake its hand, engage with it. Frankly, because transition is where so many opportunities will come in your life. Transition often comes in the form of an opportunity. And again, opportunities presented can be very scary. And our first issue is to say, oh, I couldn't possibly change and do that. You're not even going to talk to them? You're not even going to investigate what this new job is? You're not saying you're going to take the job. You're not saying you're going to move to Wisconsin. You're not saying you're going to do this. You're just investigating it. You're just checking it out. At least challenge yourself to step over that little bit of fear to at least investigate it. Because so often I see people simply, when given, opportunity, as I say, knocks on the door, and they slam the door in its face. It's like, oh gosh, don't do that. Yes, that opportunity may not be for you. But how do you know if you don't find out more about the opportunity? And
it becomes an exercise in evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to develop that skill too of, okay, well, here's the reasons this isn't right, but you have to see it first.
You have to remember I talked about that carefully considered decision. You have to at least think about it. If you use that gut reaction, that knee-jerk reaction, right, that reflex reaction of slamming the door in its face, you're going to struggle. Because the fact is, most of us opportunities coming to us every single day. Some of them wild and crazy, some of them less so. But if we universally reject them, we're not working with the world. We're not working with life. I'm always amazed at these silly opportunities that drop into my life sometimes. I mentioned my gardening work that I do. I was a spokesperson for Troy-Built garden equipment for 2 years. Nice little gig, fun to do, paid well. Would have never happened if I hadn't simply been writing in my garden blog about gardening, because that's how they discovered me. They saw my blog. They said, first off, hey, you want to review some equipment? We'll send you anything in the catalog. Just what do you want? Keep it. Just review it on your blog. Okay. A couple years later, they decided they wanted to have a official blogger outreach. They hired six bloggers to be the Saturday Six. Well, guess whose name was already in their mind? Mine. Okay. That is an example of the opportunity that can come to you if you reach out and interact with it and engage with it. I have a whole talk that I give. It's called The Year of Opportunity. And it talks about this very fact, about how to allow opportunity into your life. And you can see that on the website. If you go to the website and do a search, or do a search in Google, I don't know if you know, you can do a search in Google with a phrase and then cite, S-I-T-E, colon, well, in this case, I probably want to use the other domain, but welchwright.com, and it would search on my site only. There's a search box on my site, I believe, too. But you can search for The Year of Opportunity, also on YouTube, and learn all about that. But that was another epiphany that came to me one year. I used to have a theme for every year, and The Year of Opportunity popped up. It's because so many of us just run away from it. We shun it and run from it in fear, when it's exactly the thing that can improve our lives. We want to go back to our being on course metaphor, you want to roll with the waves of transition, okay? If you're constantly fighting, you're going to get swamped. The wave's going to come over you, and you're going to be wiped out. Don't be capsized. Don't be drowned by the waves of change. right on top. Be that cork, be that bobber if you're a fisherman. Be that bobber, and right on top of it by engaging in it. If you simply stand there at the shoreline and let the waves smack into you, okay, that's self-defeating. If you ride with the waves, if you dive into the waves, it's simply going to be easier on you, and you're going to benefit much more from that. Transition is a force for good in our lives, not evil. And I think so many of us see it the opposite way. We see change as scary and frightening and bad, and we seek to avoid it at all costs. Please don't do that. It is these changes that arise that, like the Troy-Bild opportunity I mentioned before, bring amazing opportunities in your life. And much like the compass, if you start to draw, how many people remember Venn diagrams from their math class, right? Union, intersection, all that stuff. If you start drawing the interests in your life and where they connect, so say this is gardening, this is technology, this is writing, it's where these interests bang up against each other that all the great stuff happens. If you can find ways of combining interests like this, where they come together, that's the energy in your life. Because having a job that expresses one interest of your life is great. Having a job that expresses 3, 4, 5 interests in your life, that's amazing. That's totally the best type of life you're looking for, is where you can engage as many of your interests as possible, and that allows you to seek out your wants, your needs, and your desires. I want to thank you so much for having me out today. If you have any questions, please feel free to visit the website. You can also email me, and I have a card I can give you with an email address on it. You can find tons of talks on my websites or on my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is directly youtube.com/DE Welch. I know that's kind of cluttered there, but basically my first initial, my middle initial, and my last name. And there you'll find talks on transition as well as a bunch of other career topics that even if you're into gardening, you can see me puttering around in my garden as well. Thank you again.